What's up YouTube, it's your boy Johnny Shreve, IFBB Pro and Mr. Tell It Like It Is. I just got through doing ATHLEAN X's build huge delts, all three heads. And while I was doing it and kind of taking this advice and whatnot, I kind of figured, you know what, here we are again, I gotta optimize his workout as well. And how am I gonna optimize that? Form, strict form, always strict form. The form is everything. Let's just put it this way. Remember, the fastest point from A to B is a straight line. Our straight line is good form, perfect form. You gotta be like almost cerebral with this. Almost like you're, I don't know, a Buddhist or something, or a samurai. I don't know, one of those guys like one of those guys in the Shaolin Temple that are focused on nothing but just good hand movements and body flow. That's how we have to take doing our workouts. Being cerebral, being very smart, being body aware, and being extremely meticulous over how we do everything. Basically, wrap it up in one good form. Anyway, let's go to my technique laboratory. Beat laboratory?
This is my office and my beat laboratory.
Guys, I'm not here to knock anybody's YouTube channel for putting out information that people need. The problem is there's way too much information out that people can't understand. It's either way too science-based or it's way too bro science, and you're stuck wondering which way to go. Do I go science? Do I go bro? I'm gonna tell you guys from a standpoint of a coach who's in the gym every single day, every day, with a variety of different physiques, different personalities, different lifestyles. Everybody I coach, every single one of them when they walked in, whether they had good genetics, whether they had a background in athletics, they don't understand a lot, which means that there's not much information out to be able to teach. And if you're not looking for it anywhere, how the heck are you gonna know it in the first place? So what happens is you go online, you find somebody that looks better than you and you listen to them. That's basically how it works. So if that's the case, you better listen to me. Good looking, I think. Anyway, form is the biggest, most critical thing when it comes to you getting to your goals and getting there optimally and faster than taking the longest time. Remember, the fastest point from A to B is a straight line being good form, okay? So, how do we learn that? Well, we gotta learn this in the very most basic way ever. I'm gonna teach you like I'm talking to my daughter. And it's not to say you're a moron or whatever it is, it's just you don't know. So I'm gonna teach you how to understand in the most basic terms. So, when we're talking about gravity, we're talking about our shoulders. Gravity goes up and down. So, if I take this like this and drop it, it drops to the floor. It doesn't go right or left, it goes right from here all the way to the floor. When we do shoulders, the biggest problem most people have is we're all anterior rotated. We work, we shrug, we're like this, or we look like this. So what happens, our body is always gonna do the best it can to make whatever it's doing easier. It's not gonna try and find a hard way to do it. We wanna find the hardest way to do it. That's gonna optimize your training. You're like, what do you mean? It's weird to think that. But our bodies are incredible machines that they can optimize and adapt however we need to adapt. That's only a good thing if you're conscious of it. It's a bad thing when we're in the gym and we're trying to move weight and we don't know how to move the weight. Because then our body takes over and the body says, let's do it this way, make it easier. So, here's some common mistakes that I even found in ATHLEAN X's video. Number one, I'm gonna go to lateral raises because I'm gonna get there right away. Most people are already overtraining their anterior delt anyway. I just wanna go to lateral head to start to show you guys how to make it better. Now, when you do this, you're gonna say one thing, it's way harder. Good, that's how you wanna do it until you're perfect at doing it, and then you can go to some other variations of doing a lateral raise. Now, lateral raise mistakes, I see it all the time. For a dumbbell standpoint, dumbbells are here, and we have this. We have this stuff, or we have this, right? We want to make sure gravity stays on this shoulder. Now, if I have gravity, we're talking about gravity too, and I go this way with my side delt, my lateral delts, right? If I do a raise like this, and I am weak in my delt, what muscle do you think is going to help take over? My trap. So gravity being here, which is the majority of the weight, and gravity is gonna pull my shoulders down like this, and then I'm doing a bunch of trap exercises instead of actually putting the weight and the load directly on my lateral head. Now how do we do that? Well, pretty easy. For most of you boxers out there, if I throw a punch, it's gonna come here, straight, very strong, extended out. Well, I'm gonna pull my shoulder in like this. I'm gonna keep that same posture. I'm gonna move it out this way. Now you have a perfectly straight arm. So again, if we're doing dumbbell ladder raises, you're allowed a little bit of the angle out this way because our lateral head does pull in that direction as well too. But I still want to keep my arms straight. I don't want to pull it this way and have myself here. Pulling it straight out, I should look like this, tight from the ground up, engage my core, and then drive my hands away from my body, as far away from them as they can go, so I'm using less or even none of my traps. And you should think about lifting the weight up and lowering it. Lifting it and lowering it. There you go. All right, let's move on to rear delts. All right, guys, let's talk rear delts. no, real talk though, but literally, guys, when we're talking rear delts, I love using, actually when it comes to all over any delt movement, I like using cables because they get constant tension. Sometimes when we use dumbbells, we have, you know, a resting point. Obviously at the bottom of the lift is resting. Rear delts, easily the most underdeveloped, underused, most ignored muscle group in the body. Why? It's in the back. No one sees it. It's a very small muscle, but that little muscle does a lot. It caps off our shoulder. It finishes and completes the look. Plus, it has a lot to do with a lot of stabilization and rotation in our shoulder, so we need to build that guy up. Anyway, how do we do that? Well, cables. Now, most of the time when I see people do cables, when we're pulling, now when we're pulling out this way, I see too much of it being pulled back this way. So, when we're in position down here, when we're pulling, whether we're on a bench, regardless of what we're doing, if we're in a bench position, most of the time when people do rear delts, they're here and they pull their arm and they end up doing either this or they do this, but they never pull it on the plane where it's going to have the most tension. And where is that tension? Well, I'll show you. I like using no handle. I can actually just grab with the cord and the ball stays behind here, and I can literally pull with a good strong arm in position. So how do I make this more optimal? Well, I want to make sure when I'm pulling that that line stays, gravity stays on my rear head. So if I'm straight and I stand down this way, bending over in a good Romanian deadlift position, I want to stretch that muscle. There's tension already on, and then I want to pull out the same direction and then back down. Right? I don't want to pull this angle back this way because my lat gets engaged, and sometimes my lat will take over again. Your body's going to do everything it can to make the exercise easier. So when it comes to this exercise, if you're pulling the bar or the weight too far back, your lats are going to overuse, and then you're getting more of a lat workout than you're actually getting a delt workout. So you want to take your hand and make sure it's far away from your lat as possible, but doesn't start creeping up too high. So we're keeping it still on that good shoulder plane from here and pulling directly out like would be a lever to a door. So from here, pretend there's like lever this way and just pulling this way and back. Now you don't have to squeeze your shoulder blades together because again, you're going to use a little bit of that to help aid you. Now you can do that when it gets to more advanced things. What we want to do right now is get you to do the basic, harder things first, and then move on to those extracurricular things later. So, this is what your reverse rear delt fly should look like. Okay, so again guys, when we're pulling, use the cables, make sure we have some slack on already so we have tension in your shoulder. And then remember, pulling directly aligned and across. Don't try and pull back this way. Don't try and pull out this way. Lower the weight, get rid of your ego, and do it perfectly. Once you've got it done perfectly, you'll look in the mirror and you're like, holy jeez, my delts just grew from the back. And you'll be like, thank you, Johnny, right? Take your time. This is not a marathon. It is a marathon. This is exactly a marathon. It's not a race, all right? Actually, take your time. Muscles will grow. Take your time building. Concentrate. Pay attention to your movements, all right? Last but not least, we're gonna go over our front delt. Now, our front delt, obviously, always overused in everything we do, especially when we're doing shoulders. Now, anything in the front, we're looking at a high incline bench, a high incline Smith machine, any kind of high incline pressing, you're going to be using your anterior head no matter what. It does help with horizontal adduction. It's gonna assist that movement, pulling your shoulder in, okay? How do we optimize that? Well, I have to agree for sure with ATHLEAN X when he went over his first movement, which was shoulder press. And basically stacking the weight, make sure you're in your sagittal plane. So when you do, and I always make this tip for everybody, when you're doing any kind of shoulder pressing movement, stack your elbow with your fist. Wherever the weight is, make sure your elbows are there. Now, making sure that your weight is actually with gravity in the right position, but here's what I mean. And we'll actually use our machine over here to give you the idea. Now I have zero weight here, so they can't be fake. Anyway, so when we're doing shoulder press and we're using a plate loaded machine, a lot of problems we have is when we press, most of the time you have people pressing and they're pressing like this. Their elbows are behind. I can't even do it because I don't even know. Elbows are behind, they're pushing this way. Right? Now, this machine is going in this direction. So push with the machine. The machine's perfectly made. You're perfectly made. The difference between the machine and you is you got doubts, you think something else, and your head's in another place, and then all of a sudden, we're not paying attention to what we're actually doing. Machines that do what it needs to do no matter what, no matter how you sit in, no matter what you do with it, it's gonna move in this direction no matter what. So, when you're pressing, when I say stack your elbow with your fist, with the weight, make sure our elbow's underneath. Now, not too much. You want to externally rotate too much here like this, then trying to do this. We want to keep our elbow underneath my fist and push in this direction of the weight. And making sure that my elbow stays underneath my fist the entire time. So I don't want my fist to end up doing this all the way down and putting too much pressure on my shoulder this way. And I don't want to put too far this way because again it's going to creep up and do this. I want to be able to pay attention to externally rotate just a tad to make sure when I push, my delts get all the load from keeping my elbow stacked with my fist. We push. So I have to definitely agree with ATHLEAN X on that one. Yes, it's a very overused muscle, but it can be optimized a lot more by just placing your hand in a certain position, externally rotating your shoulder a little bit to make sure you're in the perfect alignment. Remember, we're trying to push with gravity, not against gravity, right? So when we're doing shoulders, when we're working out, and any exercise we're doing, we want to have that good mind and muscle connection. You're like, what does that mean? Really, basically, just means pay attention to what you're doing. Just think about what you're doing. Be in the moment. Go through your checklist. My feet are planted on the ground. Is my core engaged? Is my lats engaged so I have shoulder depression? Are my elbows stacked underneath of my fists when I push the weight? I'm going through these checks over and over and over. I don't even know how much weight I'm lifting half the time because I'm thinking too much of checklists. I always tell my clients, all my athletes, stick to technique. Technique's the only way the weight's gonna get up the right way. That's it. And it's actually incredible to see how far they go when I'm with them all the time and you see their form get better and better and better. You want to get to your gains faster, more optimal, start thinking form. Get rid of the ego, get rid of how much weight you think you can want to do, or your PRs, whatever it is. Just think technique. Get that down, master that, and then you can move on to the other movements and to other fancier things. But master the basics, and that's it. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, which I know you did, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button and the notification button too, so when I get another video up, you're the first one to see it. And for coaching, it's hardcore.training02@gmail.com. It's your boy John Ashif again, and until next time, guys, keep dream chasing. Peace.